What's your secret that could literally ruin your life if it came out? As kid I played a lot with fire. One day I got surprised by my brother, "Hey, let's go to the park." I threw away the matches when I heard his voice behind me. When we left the house we saw flames coming out of the window of my room. Everything went very fast from that point. The whole house catched fire and we lost our home and everything what was in it. We had to split the family because the relatives who decided to help us didn't have that much space in their homes. It took years to recover from that. And many removals. From flat to flat. Everyone thinks it happened because of a damaged cable which catched fire next to the curtains. But I remember everything. 30 YRS passade now. And noon knows. Why it would ruin my life? I guess it wouldn't. But it would change a lot how my family sees me and trusts me. I know you can excuse it because I was a kid. But still. With every year. I got older and wiser. And still. I decide to keep the secret. Not me but. My coworker is a Chinese American woman and she has twin teenage children, a boy and girl. Whenever their grandma, who still lives in China, sends them money for their birthday or holidays, she sends the boy significantly more money because boys are still valued more in China. Especially to older generations. So for years my coworker had been secretly opening up her kids' birthday cards from their grandma before they see them and adding money to her daughter's cards so that they think they get equal amounts of money. She told me that she dreads one day her daughter will figure it out and think her grandma doesn't love her as much. I'm very close to giving up on my dream career and life abroad because of the tremendous guilt I would feel leaving my widowed mother alone. She doesn't live near anyone in our small family. Doesn't own a car to travel. She won't be able to retire until her 70s. And she has arthritis which is not only painful but makes her depressed. My older sibling already moved abroad, so I feel like I have to be the one to stay. If anything were to happen to her whilst I was abroad and she was living alone, I would never forgive myself. I saw the first and last girl I ever loved hang with a noose and I just ran. Deleted everything from my past. And that was it for that part of my life. When my now husband and I went to the beach with his family, iPhones were still a little new and we were in high school. He got his mom's phone and shared her location with me so we would know when they were on their way back and whatnot. And deleted our messages since we never texted, so she had no idea. 1 week later I pull up her location and said, "Wow, these maps are so glitchy, it's showing her all the way in a different state than she's saying." It was his dad's best friend's house. My husband told his dad that she was cheating. They are now divorced and have no idea it was me that caught her. I am really close with her now and it would be a wreck if she knew. I have about 180,000 in cash in a secret bank account. We're currently living paycheck to paycheck because I am buying our next house for cash. If she knew this money existed, she would probably trade it for Clash of Clans gems and other pretend game currency. She has zero ability to budget or control impulse spending. I have a former boss that did me really dirty over and over again. He eventually threw me under the bus for a couple of mistakes he made and I lost my job when my wife was 7 months pregnant. One day while driving to a family member's house, I saw his very distinct truck parked in a driveway and realized that I discovered where he lives by accident. One weekday afternoon I walked through his yard and sprinkled about a half pound of kudzu seeds throughout. And I threw about 10 bamboo shoots under his deck. This was about 6 years ago and the kudzu is all over his yard. I drive by his house occasionally. He's had to take down a large number of very large trees that have been choked out by the vines. That alone has probably cost him several thousand of dollars. Beep that guy. If I told anybody that my dad cheats on my mom, everyone I know would rain down hell on my parents for various reasons. Edit. To clear some things up. Yes. My mom does know. I feel like if the secret gets out to others, people will feel the need to blame my mom for whatever reason because my relatives and people I know are just like that. Was abused by an aunt as a child. Only my wife knows. I brought a gun to school when I was in 7th grade to kill myself. Somehow I didn't pull the trigger. I'm suicidal. If others found out, I'd be afraid that it would affect my chances at medical school. Edit. I never expected so many people to see this. Thank you to everyone who had something kind to say. Doesn't solve everything, but it does help. I lied about my qualification for my current job. I also lied about graduating high school. My twin graduated, but I didn't because I got expelled. The school closed down soon after, so I just made a fake of her high school diploma and got into college that way. I was abused as a kid by a neighbor. Only my wife and a therapist know. I don't want others to know about it. It wouldn't ruin my life, but it would make it uncomfortable. My great-great-grandfather was a wanted Nazi war criminal. He got away. We don't talk about it. I was groomed as a young teen by a grown man on the internet and shared inappropriate photos with him. A lot of photos. I can only imagine how embarrassing it would be for me now to have this come to light. The only thing keeping me from being upset about it, apart from departed shame, is that he would have to leak the photos, which would bust him for having softcore CP. I doubt that he wants that in his life. Plus he's in his 50s by now. Not a great age to go to prison. Edit. Holy Mother of God. I went away for a few hours and this really blew up. I wasn't anticipating that. Thank you all for your kindness. That I'm probably the reason a kid I used to know killed himself. He was messed up to begin with. Lived a hard life, but he was getting better. I was young and addicted to heroin. I introduced him to heroin. 3 months later he blew his brains out on his girlfriend's lawn. I'm pretty sure if I hadn't introduced him to that speep, he'd still be alive right now. The kicker on top of that is my father kind of believes that he's the reason this kid killed himself, but my father doesn't know about my addiction, so I can't really tell him the truth either. My uncle molested my sister as a kid. I paid some guys to beat him to an inch of his life after he got out of another molestation charge. That I was severely violently abused and sexually tortured by an ex back in the late 1990s. I haven't hugged another person since. Let alone anything else. I am also a goddamn raging alcoholic. My family doesn't know about this because they're not very nice to me. So it's just easier to not give them any ammunition. I have a boatload. 1. I was a stripper in university. 2. I found my birth parents and actually have a decent relationship with the one and now spend more family holidays with them than I do my family that I grew up with from 2 weeks old onward. No one in my adoptive family knows. No one in my biological family is allowed to post on social media or publicly acknowledge my existence. Just last week I planned my suicide. Was going to do it Friday while my wife was at work. I'm lonely and don't have family aside from my wife. And I always feel she could do better. I have a few mental problems as well as extreme self-hate. I fear that despite being down 70 pounds with 70 more to go, I'd always hate how I look and didn't want to be myself anymore. I wanted a clean slate on life. That was the day I started reading into Buddhism, and while I'm still full of all this self-doubt, at least I'm still here. Edit. I want to add here that I am a woman. Just so there's no confusion on that in replies. Edit also. Thank you to anyone who took their time to reply. I'm working on myself. Truly am. And I'll continue to do just that. Thank you. 3. My uncle molested me constantly as a child. I told my mother, who got very angry. She said I was lying and was a terrible person for trying to split my family apart. My mother is a whole other can of worms. So he died when I was 16. And that made things easier for me. But no one knows. He's remembered fondly and often by his wife and kids at functions and dinners. And for 11 years now I just get quiet when he comes up. Telling people would only cause pain. And honestly wouldn't do me any good. No one knows but my boyfriend. And I carry the trauma with me everywhere. I probably should go to therapy. But between having 2 kids, working full-time, and being an adult student, I don't have time.